Hi, I'm Stacy, and today I have my daughter Jaden, and we've just did a couple classes on anxiety. So we decided to go ahead and record this so that other people can go ahead and review it. You can review it as a family, you can review it parent and child, you can parent and child, you can record it, you can watch it with your friend. It's just to try to explain things that happen during a panic attack or while you have an anxiety, how to learn how to manage it better. We have some real life experiences that we're going to share. Um, I've had anxiety before, and the thing is, at first, I did not realize that I was having anxiety. And when I went to the doctor, I explained like my heart was beating really hard and really slow. And he said that was in a form of anxiety. I told him at another point my heart was racing really fast, and that was anxiety. They were nowhere near the same time frame. And when I went into the doctor, it was months after that, and it felt like the roller coaster feeling, like or if you're going on a Ferris wheel and that dropping feeling. I felt that in my stomach, but it would not go away. And so, yeah, I came to learn that those were all different things of anxiety. So seeing how people don't always recognize when they have anxiety, we are going to explain what anxiety is and some things that you experience. So first of all, anxiety is just a thinking error, right? Feelings of worry, nervousness, unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. And it's characterized as a nervous disorder by a state of excessive uneasiness or apprehension. So the feelings that are often felt and experiences that you might have pervasive worry, where it's just you can't stop thinking about it. You might feel keyed up or on edge. You can have irritability or unexplained outburst, difficulty concentrating, and you can have restlessness. Some social things that start to happen, you could suddenly not enjoy the extracurricular activities that you normally do. Isolating yourself from peer groups or spending increased time alone, and avoiding social interactions with the usual friends that you hang out with. The physical changes. So I talked about my heart racing. You could have GI problems. You could have frequent headaches or migraines, changes in your eating pattern where either you're not hungry at all or maybe you're constantly hungry. Being very tired and having fatigue, unexplained aches and pains, and not feeling well with no really obvious medical reason. And then last, you would have probably sometimes you can experience trouble going to sleep or staying asleep or not feeling refreshed after you have slept. Also, frequent nightmares. So we both experienced a lot of these things. She had nightmares. I had bad dreams. I didn't feel like I could sleep well or ever get enough rest. I was tired a lot. I talked about my heart. She had headaches and pain, and something else I saw on that list. Sometimes she was
I did that in school.
Yeah, irritability or difficulty concentrating.
And outbursts. I get outbursts when I have bad anxiety.
Right. And so, and I could tell that she spent more time alone. Like, teens are in their room a lot, right? But she does come and talk to me very often. We will discuss things and hang out. If I would see that she was, at that time when it was really bad, she just was always in her room. And so now she had really bad anxiety, and 2 years ago it hit a limit, and she went into the hospital for that. And so since that time, like now, it's remarkable the changes that have happened. she's nowhere near that worrier that she used to be. And things that happen throughout any kind of, just life with friends or situations. She even took a trip, and even though she did get nervous about it, it doesn't mean that when you get um, better with anxiety and you learn to control it, it doesn't mean you'll never have anything again. But you can manage it.
In the place I went to, they had this thing that, what's it called? Progress isn't exponential, which means that it doesn't always go up. Well, you can still have progress, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to have panic or anxiety anymore.
Right. So it doesn't mean that it'll never happen again. But she can, and that happened. And at first I was worried, did she think it was a setback? But it doesn't mean that she won't have the markers or like the things that qualify as anxiety. She may always feel that she could worry about me or about things happening. But the thing is, she doesn't let it affect her. And she can easily enjoy her life. In fact, this year, she just graduated from high school, and she said her senior year was like,
it was
her best.
My best high school year. I did the best in school. I had the most friends. And yeah, it was better for me all around.
So yeah. Well, the things that she was starting to touch on was school performance. That can change too. Missed assignments, feeling overwhelmed by work or homework, jump in your grade, usually down, and procrastinating or difficulty concentrating on assignments more than normal. So yeah. And the reason why we decided to do this is here's the facts. The number one leading mental health issue in America is anxiety. A third, or no, not a third, but 1 in 3 people suffer from anxiety. And 80% don't get help. And sometimes they'll try to get help, but it's not from the right person. They're not actually feeling like they're getting the help that they need. Last year, it was said that 44 million Xanax prescriptions were given a year. So now we want to now that we put that out there, since we have both suffered, we decided that I studied up on it. I researched it when she went into the hospital. I mean, there is not a study that I didn't read. And I started because I knew that it had bothered me. I didn't want her to feel that way. And often, anxiety is often connected with depression. Depression's linked with anxiety, and you can become suicidal. And that's where she got, where she was like, I don't want to be suicidal, so I'm going to go into this hospital. So I was very surprised because I knew she had anxiety, but I did not know the level that it was on. And we still have the papers that they assessed her on. And it was like, if you score 25 out of these questions, you might have anxiety. And her score was 50, and of the different types that they tested her for, everyone, if you scored 9, you had this anxiety disorder, and she scored 15. And
for every different order that the screening had, I would score well above what it needed to make that disorder
right
thing.
So the point in us sharing that isn't to be like, wow, it was terrible. The thing is just saying, in 2 years, she really, you have to want it to change. You have to want to learn.
You have to work hard to get it to change, and you have to want it.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Now, she went to the facility, and she was inpatient for 2 weeks. So she stayed there night and day. And then another 2 weeks, she was outpatient, which means she was able to come home. They knew that she would be safe and everything like that, and she can manage. But they wanted her to work on these skills. So we dropped her off in the morning. It was just like school. And she stayed there till the afternoon, and we were able to pick her up. But it's because they want them to learn how to adequately cope and use these tools that we're about to share. And they don't want them to have to come back. So they do intense training for those weeks. And after that, she was able to refer to her notebook where she had these coping skills and utilize them when she needed them.
It's to make sure that during a time of crisis, instead of what you would do without the training, if you use it, you can get through it easier.
Right.
Less intense or less urgent.
And you don't let it escalate. You learn how to decompress and how to get your thoughts rational and to cope with it. So it doesn't happen overnight. Even after she left and she was good, she still had to put that into practice and she still had to check herself, right? So one of those skills that we're going to talk about is, since I mentioned checking yourself, it's the second one, but we're going to jump to that. It's called accuracy check. It says check your facts, man. Because the thing is, anxiety is literally just our mind overworking and overthinking things and making a huge mountain out of some tiny molehill. So the challenge is to train your thoughts in your brain and talk yourself down, not making it so huge and exaggerated, but actually having a clearer picture that it's not as scary, and doesn't matter longer, and just thinking this imaginative fear and doom and gloom is worse in your head, and realizing that and then going, okay, how is it really, what's really happening? So that's the first thing is, when you have a moment at first, you may not be able to calm down. And this is the first tool that we'll share. And I'll let Jaden talk about it because after I did the research and everything and I put this together for teaching a class, I ran it by her and asked her, like, this facility uses the best techniques because they know that that's what works. And in those 2 weeks, they want to set them out with what's going to work. And so when I ran it by her, she said, this is one that they actually really used a lot. So you want to explain it?
The first one?
Yeah.
Okay, this one is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's a grounding exercise that helps you when you're panicking or whatever. It helps you calm down and be more in the moment, and it helps you keep your mind where your feet are. And so it uses the 5 senses. There's 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
It uses the 5 senses to do that. So you're supposed to find 5 things you can see, and 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And doing that forces you to look at where you are instead of think about what you're freaking out about. Yeah.
Right. So sometimes when you're panicking, you are thinking of all this other stuff. And when you start to just take that moment to like look around you and see the things you see, and you start checking them off, like one, I see this, I see that, and then what can I touch? Okay, I can touch this and I can reach this and touch it. In the meantime, your mind is just gaining focus
on what's real instead of what you're blowing up.
Right. And then by the time that you go through that exercise, you're actually calm, where you can start to rationalize after that. So it's the part of getting you grounded so that you can start to think clearly. So after that, another tool could be meditate and visualize. So what does calm look like, right? Breathing techniques are really important because when we're anxious, our muscles get tight in our diaphragm and we breathe shallow. Now this happened to me a lot where Jason would say, my fiance would say, you're not taking deep breaths. And I would say, yes, I am. And he would say, breathe in with me and let's breathe in together. And when I would do that, I'd go, oh, I can take a deeper breath. It felt like I was taking the deepest breath. So even when you're trying to calm yourself and you think you're taking the deepest breath, try to see if you could take in any more air, and you'll be shocked because usually you can. It's just that you're anxious and you don't feel that you can. But what this does is it's grounding you, and the oxygen thing. What were you saying? It helps with the oxygen to the brain.
Yeah, getting oxygen to your brain is one of the most important things with an anxiety attack because it clears. I don't know the science behind it, but I know that factually, if you're breathing in and you're taking deep breaths, then you're going to calm down no matter what.
Right.
So any state, it could even be anxiety, but any state, if you take deep breaths, you're going to clear your mind, you're going to calm down.
Right. And if you think about when people do an exercise and you're watching a video or something, they say, let's do the cool down. I take a deep breath. That it slows your body down. So it's very good for that. there's a technique that they want you to do. And when she was in the facility, they called it square breathing, which I had never heard before. But this is what I did in my acting classes. We would meditate the first 10 minutes. And so you slowly breathe in for 5 counts. You hold it for 5. You release it for 5. Then you wait for 5, and you do it again. So focusing on that sends breath to the top and the bottom of your body. The air is circulating there. The tense muscles relax. And if you still, or do it a couple times, but you can start visualizing, like picture your toes, picture your ankles, work up your body, and picture it relaxing. The other thing to do is put your hand on your stomach and make sure that your stomach is moving when you take a breath in, because sometimes we'll breathe just in our chest, but you need that diaphragm. You need your stomach to be moving. That's where the muscles are that are tight. So make sure that when you breathe in, you're pushing your hand on your stomach, and then you're breathing all of it out. So, oh, I thought you were about to add something. The other thing would be some tools that relax you, right? So if you like walking, if you like bicycling, drawing, there was a lot of people in the hospital where she was at that would be drawing, and maybe playing music that you like and dancing it out, or whatever it is that, maybe you want to journal. Do those things so that you not only you did the breathing techniques and you're calming down, but you get your mind off of it, and you're doing something that picks you up and creates less stress right then and there. Later, you want to start challenging your anxiety, right? You want to do it in a supportive area and environment, but you want to take healthy risks to overcome these anxiety and uncomfortable situations, because the best thing for the fear is to beat it. And anxiety is strictly based on fears. So if you know you're afraid of meeting new people, then I would say do it in your home, or do it with a group of friends where you have some comfort and you wouldn't be as nervous. But do it several times, and then you get less scared to meet new people. That's just an example. But I can tell you that this is important. We experienced some trial and error, and I'll tell you, sometimes it can be a bad situation in trying this. And it's okay if you try and it doesn't go as planned, right? Because you're practicing this. So one time, she was in about 7th or 8th grade, and we were at a store grocery shopping, and she saw a teacher that had caused her a lot of anxiety. And
it was my homeroom teacher.
And so she was like, we have to leave. And I was like, no, we have to get these groceries and go. It's going to be okay. She was like, no. And I said, okay, let me just tell you real quick. Nothing can happen. I'm with you. She can't do anything to you. So I was trying to encourage her and have her overcome this fearful situation by being with her. So I held her hand and we started to walk, and she started to just melt down. So we just left. We went and sat in the car, and I didn't know if we were going to get calm and then go back in, or if we were going to go home and I would go back later. But I could see that it was just not a win-win situation, and you don't want to make the situation worse. So I honored her feelings, and we left. But it wasn't a fail. It was just, okay, we're going to try it again. And later she could see, like, rationally, she wasn't in school. This lady has no authority, she was able to see that, just not in the moment when she was panicked. So
it's important to do it. And for the person who's not having the anxiety and wants to healthily push their person to overcome it, it needs to be on their terms, or else they won't be able to figure it out.
Right. If they're truly not comfortable, you're not helping them to accomplish anything. The idea is they are comfortable, and it's a little bit nervousness, and they overcome it. But if you're just forcing them, then it's not going to be an accomplishment. So we just wanted to share with you that we had a couple other experiences with that, where we were in a car going to an audition or something, and we had another situation like that. But we had to go. We said we were coming, and we had to get there. So in the meantime, I just told her, okay, we can either let this ruin our day, or we can decide to take some deep breaths, forget about it, and like let's just enjoy the day. Even she had one when it was the solar eclipse thing. Is that your junior year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she had that her junior year, and it was just something unexpected that happened. And I picked her up in a different order, and just some, it just made her uneasy. We had to go to the library and get these glasses, and they were running out of glasses everywhere for that. I don't know if you remember this, but it was a big ordeal. So we finally got the glasses, and she was just overwhelmed with being in an uncomfortable situation and all that. And I said, but listen, do you want to miss out on the eclipse, or do you just want to let it go? Because sometimes anxiety can rule us. And we both felt that, where we avoided going with our friends, or we just let something ruin it and we just didn't do whatever we're supposed to. So now we have to actively call it out and say, well, what do we want? And then it empowers us to be like, you know what? I just want to win here, and I want to put it behind me, and let's go do fun. And we've done that a couple times with each other, and it made all the difference. And it led us up to have more successes. So going back to some of the other things, another thing is, therapy is important, okay? And making sure you have the right therapist. So the ones that you need to look for are someone that has exposure and cognitive behavior, because this is a thinking skill, and exposure to your frightening things. Just a regular therapist is not going to know how to help you overcome it.
The problem is that in order to get over it or to make it better, you have to learn how to make it better. It's not just going to go away from talking about it, even if you want that seems easy, but you have to work on it and figure out what works for you. And yeah, you need a good therapist to do that. You need someone who's going to teach you skills. And if you have a therapist, you need to ask them, can you teach me how to overcome this in this situation, or what?
Which means you're going to have to talk about what upset you. You're going to have to talk about how you handled it and what might have been a better way, and then try it.
It's good to figure out what upsets you, because there's specific things that upset me that I know will upset me, and you need a therapist that will help you figure out what to do that works for you with that trigger.
Right, because everybody's going to respond differently, and some tools are going to work for other people and not so much for you. So you need to really have someone that's going to work on zoning and on what works for you, and trying some different techniques, and sending you out with a few things to try, so that usually it's a situation that you face repetitively. So giving you a couple tools to try, and facing the, when it comes up, trying the different ones and testing it, and then going back and telling them how it went. If you don't have a therapist, but you have a life coach that also has that training, then you can do the same thing. But you need somebody that really does know the different techniques and can see how you're working on it and how to get beyond it. This next phase I'm going to talk about, it is key to helping your body, and it's going to make a huge difference. So it's talking about nutrition. So the thing is, a lot of people that deal with anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, those kind of things, they are depleted in vitamin D and vitamin B and omega. And these help the brain. In fact, when she first thought she had ADD or something, and was having a little bit of anxiety before we really knew how bad it was, the doctor said, I'm not going to put you on ADD medicine. Often these things can be turned around just by having quality supplements, and I'm seeing that you're low in vitamin D. I need you to take 4,000 milligrams of vitamin D, and I need you to take this vitamin B and this vitamin B and this vitamin B, and you have to get omega. Omega oils up the brain and lets it function properly. Now, the thing is, most vitamins aren't really quality vitamins. In fact, here we have a friend who works with the water treatment system, and they said that there's actually a landfill filled with vitamins that your body did not absorb, like tons of vitamins in this landfill. That's crazy. But doTERRA, I work with doTERRA, they know that. They stay constant on the latest research, and they have very quality vitamins that are bioavailable, which means your body will absorb all of it. And they do put some essential oils in it to even help that. The other thing is their vitamins, they have an omega, and it's plant and animal omega. They have found that the plant omega added to the animal really helps the brain tons. It's the better way to get omega. So that's a key thing. So anyhow, it's just really important. The other critical thing is the gut, okay? What people don't understand is they think that anxiety and depression is just thoughts. Now you do have to change your thought behavior, right? But the other side of that is 10% of your neuroreceptors are in your brain. The 90% of them are in your gut. So what happens is when we have a gut that is loaded with toxins, it makes the signal. We have three brains. We have our mind, our heart, and our gut. Trust your heart, listen to your gut. That's because it's a brain. And when you feel certain things and you take in certain things, it sends a signal to the brain and to the rest of the body, right? And then the heart sends it to the brain, and then it goes to the rest of the body. When the toxins are there, it makes the gut send multiple signals. So instead of going, oh, that scared me, it's like, oh, that scared me, and I'm going to die, and I'm going to, that can't get out of this, and I'm stuck in, 50 messages instead of just the one. We don't want that, especially with anxiety. We don't want that, right? We need to be calm and to be able to go, okay, I worry a little bit, but I'm okay. So you have to cleanse the gut. And a lot of people talking about gut cleansing, but doTERRA has researched that too. If your gut is toxic, most likely the filtering organs are toxic. And when your gut cleanses, it pushes it to the filtering organs to get it out of your body. So doTERRA has developed supplements that are natural and cleanse the filtering organs so that they can handle then cleansing the gut. It's very important, and you see drastic changes with that. The other thing would be a probiotic. There's a lot on the market. Before I was with doTERRA, the doctor I worked with would say most of them are garbage. They don't actually get to your gut. They just die in your stomach. And that's still the case today, although they've improved them. There's some that are good. doTERRA, I would say, is the best. Just because I have different clients that have been on probiotics for years, and they've been on the latest ones, and then when they took the one from doTERRA, which is a capsule that has prebiotic, and then the probiotic is a second capsule inside that is protected by the prebiotic and actually makes it to your gut. And when they got on it, they saw drastic differences in their skin and whatever issues they had. So I would just encourage you to try it and see the difference. The Lifelong Vitality is the vitamin kit that they do, and then they have a cleanse that they do. So I'm just going to share that because when I work with people that have anxiety, depression, those type of things, I automatically tell them, let's get your gut clean so that you're not dealing with the over signaling and all that.
It's a lot easier to work on you and yourself when other factors like your gut are not also causing something you can't control.
Yeah.
Like you can figure out how to work with your brain and you can control that. But you can't control what your gut is misfiring. So you're not going to be able to completely handle your anxiety or your depression or your ADD without all that being healthy.
Right. You have to work with your mind and your body.
Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, then you just have to deal with sometimes you're going to misfire.
Yeah, you will. And there's no way to avoid it because these toxins are in our food. They're in things that we use in our home, shampoos, conditioners, stuff like that. And we saw that she was training her brain, and we had started right away cleansing her gut. However, it took a few cleanses because this is built up in her, or however old she was, 15 or so at the time. It took a while to get it to where it was not overfiring, and then she could see huge differences. Now she's done the cleanse every 3 months since that time, and now you can see where she still will tell you she needs to cleanse more. she can tell. And here's an example. Like we said, she just graduated last month, a couple weeks ago, and her good friend decided we're gonna go on a trip to Florida. We are seniors and we're adults now. We're out of high school, so she went back to an area that she grew up in. So she knows the area like the back of her hand. She can't get lost. She knows it well. She was excited and she got packed, but that morning she came in and was talking to me and she looked like she was about to cry. And I was like, what's wrong? And she said she was just getting a little bit anxious about the trip. So first of all, it's the first time I've seen her anxious in a very long time. So I said, well, what is it that's scaring you? What's your worry? And she said, driving that far. Now, her friend Rachel drives well. She's ridden with Rachel all over the place. And so I said, okay, well, listen, what you need to know is most accidents happen around your home. So just the fact that you're going to Florida really isn't going to make a difference here. It's no different than her driving you here. So let that go and be comfortable that she's a safe driver. The other thing was she said, just separation anxiety and being away from me. And so what I told her was her grandma was going to be there. She was staying at her grandma's condo. And if anything happened, she's there. And it's really no different than being here where something could happen and I would not be with her, but I would get to her. And it might be an hour or two or, a little bit before I got there, but she would be fine. So we thought about that. And then I said, you know what? Here's the deal. Just go get a Serenity pill. So doTERRA has different oils that work with anxiety, which we'll get into in just a moment. But Serenity is one of the biggest ones that help with it. And they have it in the oil and they have it in the pill form. So I told her to go get that and take one and see how she felt in a little while. So she did, and she started calming me down, and she was like, okay, I'm glad you reminded me that. So I said, hey, you know what? Just take a few with you in case you get nervous while you're down there, you'll have it. So she did. And they had a great trip. So it's something where she still might have something come up, and she's still cleansing to get that gut in a better situation than it already has come from the beginning. But she'll also share with you a few things, tell them about why, while you were on the trip, and how Rachel came to see it helped her too. And then how you and Rachel started testing how quickly it worked, and the symptoms that y'all experienced while you were there when you didn't think it was anxiety.
Okay, so my anxiety always shows itself in different ways. So like I could get a headache and that would be anxiety, or I'll get a stomach ache and that would be anxiety, or I'll just start feeling pain. Like earlier how we talked about how it manifests in different ways, like body pains or whatever, that's the same thing. So on the way there, I had taken one because I was feeling anxious, and then Rachel's stomach started hurting or something, and she was talking about how anxious she was and how she's going to miss her family. And she also has separation anxiety.
I didn't know that at the time. I know that she had some other things like that, but I didn't know it was separation anxiety. So we sent our two girls out on their senior trip and said, here, face separate. We didn't know, but anyhow, they did do good. So what happened?
So then she took it and she started to feel better right away. And she was like, wow, those actually work. And I'm used to them working. Oh, and sometimes I think, or maybe they just work for me because I think they'll work in placebo effect or whatever. But seeing someone who does not have it all the time and doesn't live with it or whatever, use it and then it works for them, which is surprising for me. Even though I know it works, I just don't see it work as often. Because here we're just like, oh, go put this oil on. We're not like, oh wow, my headache's better. We're like, duh, your headache's better. But yeah, so then we were in Florida, and I had brought like 10 pills with me. And over the trip, we just took so many each day. Whenever we were feeling any kind of bad, we just took it and felt better.
Okay, we only said 10, so it's not like they were taking them all the time. But it is safe to take. If you take one, you don't have to wait 4 hours, or it is okay to take it again when you feel it again. But you were gone for 4 days or 5 days. So
The Friday came back Monday.
yeah, so 4 days. But they did take them, and they started to notice. Oh, they weren't really sure, but they were like, maybe this headache has to do with anxiety still. And they would take it, and it would stop. So if that wasn't the cause, it really wouldn't have gone away from taking the Serenity. But they started to, which is good. It's teaching them that they were starting to realize like some of these things that they deal with shows that they need to cleanse again and to manage, the anxiety. She doesn't really have it all the time, but I think this being her first trip away would have made other things manifest like that, where at home she's not going to have to deal with that. So anyhow, that is a very key thing here. The other thing is exercise is important. That walking or swimming or biking or even just stretching. And sometimes, um, just getting that circulation going and moving will help to relax you and get those negative things out, the jitters and all that other stuff, so that you can calm yourself. But doing exercise regularly helps to prevent depression and anxiety. And you had to do it while you were at the facility, right?
Yeah, they made us work out every day, for like an hour or whatever. Um,
And they didn't have to work out, they just had to be active.
you had to be doing something,
Right.
whether it be like walking around the gym that they had, or bouncing a ball, or playing ping pong. You just had to do something active.
Right.
Um, just because same reasons she said, it just helps with everything overall.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying it has to be strenuous. It's just getting out and getting moving for a good bit of time. It's just
even stretching, like
right.
yoga or something.
Yeah, yoga will help. It's just getting some kind of thing there. The last thing is sleep, because when we sleep, we process everything that happened to us that day. When we sleep, our body repairs itself and heals itself. And what it does is that process heals and resets yourself to deal with any kind of anxiety. So it's very important to get quality rest when you're trying to do this. Serenity also helps you get good sleep. So a lot of times these people aren't getting good sleep. So the Serenity, and here's another thing. My son did not have anxiety, but he had trouble sleeping, and the doctor told us we had to make him do stretches at night, because the stretches, like I said, when you're cooling down from exercise and you do some slow stretching, it calms your body. So he had to do that every night, and that way his body would start to slow down and he could go to sleep. So make sure that your routine at night, if you don't get good sleep, that you start having a routine where you're turning down and off TVs and screens and phones and all that stuff, and maybe taking a warm bath, just anything to help you get better sleep when you're trying to overcome anxiety is going to help you.
And you can be getting sleep, but you might not be getting
quality sleep. Right.
That's why Serenity is important.
And Serenity helps you get quality sleep. It helps you fall into that deeper sleep quicker, and that way you stay in that sleep a longer amount of time so that you're refreshed when you wake up. So a lot of people with anxiety, they don't wake up refreshed because they're not really getting steady sleep throughout the night. So these are some, the exercise, the sleep, and the supplements to take care of your body are really, really important. And at first, she was just taking care of her thoughts and all that. And we started the cleanse right away, but she didn't see that. But when we started to make sure about the sleep and the exercise and things like that, things really began to change quickly when we implemented all that. Okay, let's scroll down. So now we're going to talk about the essential oils, and then we're going to leave you with just 3 important things that are from doctors. So there are many oils that will actually help with anxiety. The best one, like we mentioned, was Serenity. It's good for anxiety and soothing agitation, restlessness, and it makes you have room for the compassion and peace and be able to connect to people again. Vetiver slows you down, calms you, and grounds you. It's really good for people with PTSD. Ylang ylang, it helps with anxiety, simplicity, and it brings joy to your inner child. Cedarwood helps separate from when you just don't feel socially connected. It's a sedative. It helps you really relax. Breathe This is when you feel suffocated by sadness or constricted emotions, right? And it's just remember, you can just use it to open up those airways and relax you, right? So you exhale what no longer serves you, and you inhale support to make you feel embraced.
You talk about the meditation, the visualizing.
Yeah, we did.
You talked about the balloon.
You can share that. Go ahead.
Breathe would probably help you if you were visualizing. When in where I in the hospital I was at, they have this exercise where you visualize to get rid of anxiety or really any emotion that you want to release. Um, and so you close your eyes and you picture that the anxiety is this balloon or it's a bath bomb or it's something. And you let go of the balloon and you watch it pop in the air and turn into a tiny little dot, or you get the bath bomb and you hold it under the water and watch it go away. That's all.
Yeah. So I did forget about that. I don't have that in my notes, but that's because lately I've been teaching the class with her, and she can interject because we want to show you real life things that have worked for us. This isn't just a class that we're just teaching to be teaching. 1 in 3 people that suffer, that's a lot of people. It's an epidemic running, and we don't want to see people suffering anymore. We know how it felt, and we want to ease this for others. So that's why I wanted to start teaching it with her, because yes, I felt anxiety and I did some of these things, but she really went through a bad bout of it. And she also really got the intense training on it. So while I'm researching it, and I did help her while she came home, we found after that, she had a therapist, but when we used these techniques, it was much better than the therapist that she had. Using the oils combined with her techniques, combined with the gut health and sleep, and exercise, it just changed everything. So it's totally how to turn it around, and you can completely get better. Like even in the first year, the next year, her teachers were amazed how much better she was doing. But by the time she graduated, we were like all congratulating her, because to see how bad she was and how everything, she just worried so much. It's not a way to live. And to see now, she'll be like, oh, I'm going here. I went to this graduation party. I don't think she would have even been able to go to a graduation party back then. But now she was like, oh, it's just a couple of my friends, and mostly their family, and I met this person and that person, and it's just such a blossoming life that's ahead, and she's really changed, and very equipped to help other people now. During the school year, she helped a couple people, and so we're really wanting to just share this. But let me get back to some of these oils. Let's see, copaiba. Copaiba. This is a plant. It's a blend of several plants, and it's also like a CBD oil. It's just a different plant family, and they've studied it and seen way better results. So it helps with mood disorders, anxiety, and unveils falseness of shame and guilt. So if you think about, sometimes when you react, when you have anxiety, you may have an outburst or something, and you wish you wouldn't have done that. And yet the shame and the guilt that you feel about that isn't really going to help you deal with your anxiety. So we want to use this oil to let go of that, because it's a learning process, and you're going to overcome this. You're going to learn to manage it, and everybody makes a mistake. It's okay if you act out. Your friends and family forgive you, and you just say, I'm working on it.
No one's going to blame you for having an anxiety attack.
Right.
Because you don't want to have an anxiety attack way more than they don't want you to have one.
Right. And most of the time people will worry about that. And most of the friends and everything, later on they forgot about it. It's just you that's remembering, because you're trying to overcome it, and you don't want to beat yourself up over that. So just relax and just let it go. That is in the past, and you're going to handle it better the next time. Balance is to stop overthinking. That is really, it's just balancing yourself. It helps with stress and grounding yourself. So those are the top ones. Now there's still some more. So here's some more that I'll mention. These 3, Roman chamomile. So everybody knows about chamomile tea calming you. So it calms you. and comforts you, especially for a panic attack. Juniper berry helps with those night terrors, those nightmares, and it helps you to stay asleep. If you're one of those people that fall asleep and then get up and then fall asleep and get up, you want to use that. Intune. Now, this is a thing for thinking, for focusing. It's usually thought about for ADD, but remember when we did the technique she taught about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or when we were breathing, we're really starting to focus on the here and now. So it helps you with anxiety, and it brings you to happy living in the present and indulging in the good things of here and now.
You could probably put Intune on when you're trying to ground yourself and focus, along with the other grounding.
Right. Almost. Yeah. Now, here are some other ones that still talk about anxiety, but I would tell you, Citrus Bliss, her and her brother, like, I could not keep it in the house. It is a 15 ml bottle, but they were just going through it like nobody's business. I was like, are you drinking this? Because maybe you're using too much of it. You don't need that much, but it really does help. So she used it for anxiety and stress. He used it for depression and stress and doom and gloom, or that morning moodiness. You might want to diffuse that if you see that in your home. Elevation. It helps with stress and anxiety, and it elevates us, right, from depression. It elevates a heavy heart to being optimistic and being in a carefree state of being. Ethan used that a lot too. Hope just helps with grief and stress and trust issues. On Guard, now you think of it as a protective blend, and that's what it does. It helps protective boundaries from negativity, and it's going to help to soothe you. Wild Orange just helps you know that you have plenty of time. It picks you up and lets you know that there's an abundance that you're going to be able to draw from. Lime is specific for suicidal thoughts. Mental clarity, it'll give you mental clarity, and it dissipates apathy. Bergamot works with sadness, self-confidence, and self-worth. I also need to point out that any of these that are citrus and have any citrus oils in them, you don't want to put it on you where your skin is exposed if you're going to go out in the sun. So the citrus oils are photosensitive and you will get sunburn, but you're only putting a drop or two. Just try to put it where the sun won't shine. It's just a thing that happens. That's how those oils react. Now there's also the emotional oil kit. This is great when you're, going from mood to mood and stuff like that. And there's several of them that help with anxiety too, but I'll just go through them real quick. Because sometimes when you're dealing with anxiety, you also feel a rainbow of other emotions. So peace reassures you. It helps to stop worry, helps with irritability, restlessness, insecurity, fear, social disorders, freedom from feeling attacked or controlled to understanding. So you'll be able to understand things that are going on around you a lot better. Cheer stops the gloom and the moodiness and emotional disconnection, and it brings optimism.
I used to put cheer on right here and right here before I went to school.
Yeah, I used cheer a whole lot. So much so that people would ask me, what's that perfume you always wear? And I have to say it's an essential oil. So I would right behind your ears in that pocket, it has receptors right there for your brain and stuff. So that's a good place to put it, behind your ear. Another good place, here's something else, because people would ask us where to place these. You can place them here. It also kind of gets to your nose. When I thought I really need something bad, I would just place it underneath my nose sometimes. You could also just put it in your palm and breathe it in. We have different necklaces and bracelets and stuff. Like this one, it's leather, but you can put it on the necklace. And so she would wear a necklace and I would wear it. And that way you have the oil, because it'll last on there for days. And whenever you need it, you can just pick up the necklace and smell it as long as you need to, and then go, okay, I'm good again. And then later on, if you have a test or something that's causing you something, anxiety again, you pick it up and you can smell it again. So those are really nifty to have. And they even have earrings now that you can put it on earrings and you can smell it. So forgive, it renews, it brings anger, resentment, and judgment to acceptance. I told Ethan that he needed forgive when he was trying to look for a job. and also console and motivate. And when I told him forgive, he was like, forgive? I'm not mad about anything. But the idea is the renewing blend. It's a renewing blend. And he was shifting to a place of a new job and being in a new state of mind. And these 3 oils, he started using them so much. And they really did just change. We both said we could see how changed he was. So when you're going through different things in your life, maybe you didn't have anxiety before, but you're having it in this new situation, you can use these emotional oils to help get you through. And he just totally turned around. And now he's really exciting and enjoying his job. But anyhow, passion helps with depression, and it gives you a passion for life again. It also helps like those people that are creative and have like a block. It helps with that. Motivate. Okay, he used this: depression, discouragement, low confidence, and it'll motivate you. Console works with grief, works with sorrow and sorry, despair, nightmares, and self-esteem. So those are all of the oils that you can use with any of these situations. Is there anything else that you want to share about that?
Just lime. I used to put it under my nose.
Yeah, when she went to the hospital, and this is what we're going to talk about.
We can talk about it then.
Okay, we'll talk about it then. Okay, so we have just a few more things to share with you, and they're very important. This next part, I tried to see where I could cut this class short, but when we discussed it, these are some things that we went through, and I feel like if I left out communication, it would be a disservice. Because here's the thing: when you're going through these anxious times, it's hard on the person that's having the anxiety attack, but it's also hard on the family or friend that see you going through it. So the biggest tool would be to learn how to communicate, whether you're the person going through it, so that others understand that you're going to be okay and just what you need. And then communication, if you're the person watching someone going through it, so that you're not increasing their anxiety, but yet you're helping them. So during these times of high stress and panic, logic doesn't get through. It doesn't get through that heightened emotion state. So there are words that work and soothe us, and things that will heighten the situation. So this is where we want to control this dialogue so that family and friends know how to help best. So what do you need? And the critical moment, it's important to let the person know that they're being heard and that you're trying to do whatever to meet their needs.
It gives them an opportunity to say, I need like water, or I need space, or just anything. Because otherwise they might not be able to have that chance to say that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's okay, like, they just like, I just need some space to think about this, and then I'll be okay.
When I was having, whenever I had anxiety attacks, every time the one thing I needed the most was space. Just being away from everyone helped me, even though my mom might have wanted to be there with me to make sure I was okay. I just had to let her know, I'll be fine. I need space.
Yeah. And like at first I wasn't sure if she was okay to be alone. But after a while, even if I can just be where I can hear her if she needs me, but let her have that room. And so it was something we had to work on and come, because I have to feel okay and she has to feel okay. And I had to explain to her how it felt for me, because I'm the mom and I want to make things better. But at the same time, we have to realize, the person not going through it, that it's not our job to fix it. It's just our place to be there and then help them in any way that they need, but let them guide us. So that's a really big thing. What do you need? Sometimes they can't say what they need. They're not sure yet. So you can ask, what's really bothering you? Like when I saw her being anxious about going to Florida, I knew she wanted to go. And so that's where I came in with that tool. What's really bothering you about this trip? The other thing is, if you label it and you're able to call it out, you automatically gain a little bit over that fear, because once you call it out, you can start to deal with it. So when we did that, she wasn't as afraid about the trip because we logically worked through it. But sometimes you could say it over and over, and instead of trying to find the reason or find a solution, just let them think about it. Like, what's really bothering you? What's really bothering you? And just let them be. And then if they start to look like, they're changing a little bit, just say, what's really bothering you? And then maybe they'll tell you, maybe they won't, but it's helping them to start thinking here and now. Something you could also say is, I feel empathy for how this is challenging you or how hard this is. Just to let them know that you're there and that you care about them. The other thing is going through their day. Once you know that they're working on this, say, how was your day? Tell me a rose, a thorn, and a bud. So this lets them review. And she said when she was at the place, Ridgeview, she had to do it in the morning when they got there.
Well, actually, every time we checked in with the whole ward, we had to say what we were there for, what our goal was for the day, what was bothering us today, and what was good today.
Right. So the idea is that they know that they're working on stuff, but every day they're going to have a challenge, and that's okay. Every day they had something good that happened, right? And they were doing this while they were going from group to group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
we would check in with that.
Right. And so what check-in is when they come into a new group session, they might leave one room and go to another room. And so when they walk into the room, they state that. And then in an hour or two, they might go to another session and they state that. Because it's reminding them that something good has happened again and something is hard that they're working on. And then the bud, like a thorn might be something that really bothered them. A rose will be something good that happened. And the bud might be something new, something challenging, or something that they're just, it doesn't.
Yes, it was a goal.
A goal. It could be the goal. Exactly. It doesn't have to be a good or a bad. It's just a goal. So that's what the bud is. And that's just giving you something to look forward to. So it's like you're being present with what bothered you, what was a good thing, but then you're looking forward with a goal.
And just those 3 things to talk about is a way to keep up with what they're doing and all.
Yeah. So it's really going to help them progress along, right? And it's something to look forward to exploring. So yeah, you just want to see the tough spot that you got through, something good that everything's going to happen every day. There's going to be a good thing, and something to look forward to accomplishing a goal. Repeat what they share. Wow, you had such a tough day. I noticed that you're dealing with this a lot. We're telling them that you see something reoccurring, so that they might not know what their stress is, but if you see that it's a recurring situation, sometimes I'll tell her, maybe it's this person, or maybe it's this situation. How can you get comfortable in this situation?
It's good to, with your kid or with your friend or whatever, analyze what they've been going through and what that might mean. Because if they're at that point, like I'm at that point, I've worked on myself enough where I can analyze and I can look at what I'm doing, what I'm going through, and see what that means. So if they're at that point, then it's good to do that.
It takes some time to get there, so they may not be able to do it right away, but they will get there. And if you're working with them on that, they know that maybe I'm not quite there yet, but I'm further than I used to be. And that's good to see the growth. It's good for them to see the progress. And you can say, we're in a partnership to fight this. Anxiety is a bully, and it keeps on bullying you personally over and over. So you're fighting this bully together. And that's where you have to learn how to tackle it and where you're accomplishing things, or to look at the situation, like she said, to see what is actually the problem there. The other cool thing, this one's a good one. I just think this one's cool, because this is kind of what I told her the other day, is what is your anxiety telling you? So it tells them to look at what's going on and what are they feeling right then. So if they can't say what they need and they don't know what's really bothering them, you can say, what is your anxiety telling you? And then calling it out, that could be like, it's telling me that nobody understands. It's telling me that you took that wrong. It's telling me that, you know what I'm saying? They could just say how they feel. And as soon as they say how they feel, it starts to calm that anxiety, because somebody's hearing it. And they can also think of how to address it. Like, well, they misunderstood. And I would tell her that often. You can always fix something that came out wrong. You just have to have the conversation. And that's big. Today, most people don't want to have a conversation. But that's how you know who your true friends are, is when you can converse about it and say, I'm sorry I did this. It came out totally wrong. And I don't want to hurt your feelings. This is what I meant. A lot of people need to learn how to have that talk. Even adults do. So the more that we can help kids and teens start to do with that, because teens are just in a very stressful situation. School is not what it was when I was in school. And it's a very stressful situation socially and with teachers and with all the pressure that's there on schoolwork. It is just a bomb for anxiety. So if we can help them to learn how to have this communication, they will be so much better set for the rest of their life going onward in the real world. So because us adults are still doing that. So the last thing is that is your anxiety talking. And I'm not going to reassure you right now. And I've had to do that a couple times where I knew she had to cleanse and she put it off. We all cleansed at the same time and she waited. And I could see when she needs to cleanse, you'll start to see that all of a sudden she gets moody. And she's usually pretty level-headed now. You might see where she got a little bit worried and she isn't. You just see these little things, and those are usually her signs. Something changing with her mood is usually a sign of that anxiety, or a pain. Like if she starts having a frequent pain, like, oh, my neck hurts, that's not normal. If she has some other pain and it's more than once, I'm like, is it time for you to cleanse? Maybe you should go ahead and cleanse. Sometimes we have discussed maybe she doesn't need to do it every 3 months. Maybe she should do it the second month. So you do it as you need it. And she can tell the difference. Once she starts to cleanse, it all settles. Once she takes care of those organs and then misfiring stops, she's back to communicating okay with us. And we really, the thing I want you to know is this time when you say, that is not you, that also frees them to know, okay, I said this and I don't want to act this way. And they may not hear it right then, but a few minutes later, they're going to realize, yeah, I do want my friend or family's reassurance, and I don't want to behave this way, so let me gain control. It calls out that it's the emotion. It's just the emotion thing, and let them be and not reinforce the anxious behavior that's wrong.
That happens a lot with a lot of different mental health disorders. That's your PTSD or your depression or something talking, and that's not you. And because you can have an outburst just because you're sad or just because you're anxious, and that's not you. So
that's just the
I'm
moment.
I'm gonna give you your time to figure out, to just let it pass, and then you can come back and we can talk about it.
Right. And we had to do that too, where we would try to force each other to talk, and we had to realize, let's just wait, and when we're ready, we'll come back and talk about it after. And that lets them it enables the person to gain control. So these are just things that we had to work on and we had to learn. And it feels so good that we can do it now. And working through that, we've all become so much closer because we can understand and we can forgive because it's a moment. It's not the person. It's just a moment. And coming back later to talk to something, somehow it bonds you more because the person wouldn't come back to talk about it if they didn't care. And it gives that person the control to handle it in the way that they wish they had immediately. And it's like a do-over. So it's good for everybody involved. So that's why I didn't want to leave that part out. But yeah, so now the very last part that we want to share. Yeah, just noticing that if you have anxiety, you may not have realized that your family feels anxiety when you do. The other thing is, I did say it's not your job to fix it. It's just your job to be present. But check in with how you're dealing with your own anxiety, because I don't think there's any way in seeing your friend or family go through anxiety that you don't start to worry yourself. So what do you need to do? Maybe you need some counseling too, but you do need to deal with your own junk, because we can't help somebody else if we need help. So we need to help ourselves so that we can help them. Take care of your own sleep and nutrition and stress, so that you can cope and help the person that you love cope as well. Use balance because that's going to help you with the stress. And you will be able to uplift others as well. And use any citrus oils that you can to uplift yourself. But the very last thing that we want to talk about is the medical professionals. So there's two things. There's been so much research done by doTERRA in this avenue with oils in the mental health arena. And they keep on continuing education there. So when she was in Ridgeview, we talked to the doctors, but before I even really had a lot of dialogue with them, we put her in and I said, I'm going to have some oils with her. Is that okay? And they said, yeah, sure, fine. They approved them. We gave her lime for suicidal thoughts. We gave her wild orange to uplift her. We gave her juniper berry to stop any night terrors and help her have a good night's sleep. We gave her serenity to help her with any anxiety. And she used them constantly. I think we gave you lemon too to put in your water. And so here's the thing. She was using them, and then she started sharing them with some of the girls that shared her room or were near her.
I remember I couldn't go to sleep while I was there. I would go to sleep hours after the person in my room with me did. And I would have some of the night workers would come in and I'd talk to them for a while about my oils or stuff to where actually that's not important. But one of my roommates, I told her that I used the lime to get rid of suicidal thoughts, or you told me something about it would help with my personal demons or just bad energy.
Yeah.
Because those places have a lot of bad energy just because there's so much of the
emotions
same thing
and everything there. Yeah. So it's like if you have one person with anxiety, you're compounding it. There's 20 or 30 people. You know, if you have depression, so it's so many people with all these emotions.
It's hard for the people there to really work and focus on them and getting them done because it's all this negative energy in one thing. Not really because of the place, but because of what the people are going through. Either way, I gave her some of my lime oil because she was having a hard time with that, and she said she felt so much better. I told her whenever she wanted, she could just go into the room. We weren't allowed to have the oils with us, but I snuck some. So I was just like, you can go in there and get some from there when you need it. And so it was okay. And so I would have her using them, or in the morning I'd have to go get the oil from the closet.
They were allowed to have them. They just wanted to keep them in an area for them to go and get them. They're not harmful, and you can use them as much as you wanted. They just didn't want the glass to get broken, and they didn't want it to be taken either. They didn't know somebody would try to take it, so they were kind of just trying to watch it. But they didn't care that she took it to her room.
Yeah, I was allowed to have it. I wasn't supposed to share it, but
after they didn't.
But after they didn't care.
Yeah.
It was just more of a safety thing because you're not supposed to have makeup, mirrors, anything in your room.
Right.
Besides your clothes and your blankets. So that's why I couldn't have it. Either way, so I started sharing them with girls who, when I was getting my stuff from the closet, they would come over and I'd just give them the oils while I was using them, or the patients or whatever, or the workers or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, and then some of the workers told us that it made the girls feel so good that at lunch they had like a salad bar kind of thing every day, and they had fruit. And some of the girls were loving the wild orange, making them feel better.
Because I told them that orange essential oil makes me happier, and it makes you happier if you use it. And so they were like, well, okay. So we're just going to get the orange peels.
She told them that it was compressed from the orange peel. So they were eating the oranges and then taking the orange peel.
Just so they could smell it and keep it in their bra.
Yeah, they wanted it on them, so they were putting it in their bra so that they had the essential oil with them the whole time. But she explained to them that's not exactly how it works. But the point is they were seeing how the oils made them feel, and they wanted more of it any way that they could get it. And here's the quote. There had two workers that came up to me at different times, and one of them said, "It is remarkable. I've worked here 25 years, and I've never seen people process as quickly as the ones that are using these oils." And then the other worker came up a couple weeks later and said, "I've been here for over 30 years, and I can accurately guess who's using the oils. And then I ask them, and they confirm it with me. They are working on skills, they're processing, they're opening up in group and individual therapy, and they're much healthier and moving through the whole system. We need to have the oils in here." So it just amazed me that this is what they were seeing. Working there that long with these kind of kids, that they were confirming to us that what we were doing was right, and this was a really good path. Later, when she left, you're assigned a psychiatrist. So we met with the psychiatrist, and he asked us, about our family history and things like that, and talked to her about medication. And she told him that she had seen her brothers on medication for depression and stuff. And it kind of worried her because one brother said that he felt like a zombie. The other one said that he just couldn't be himself. It made him not be himself. And she didn't want to feel like that. She didn't want to feel trapped by a medicine. So we were talking to them, and we talked to this doctor, and we talked to him about the essential oils that she had been using. And that since she had multiple anxiety disorders and the depression and suicidal thoughts, we wanted to make sure that he thought that this was a good way to go. And do you want to say what he said, or do you want me to read it?
He said that, exactly?
Well, you can if you want.
He said, "I can write you a prescription. It'll force your body to calm when chemicals are put there to force the body to cope. But in the long run, you will get a better, quicker, and sustainably if you use the doTERRA essential oils. The oils will naturally help your body to produce the chemicals needed, and it will learn to do it instead of being forced. You can use the oils moment to moment as needed, and it won't harm you, have side effects, or be habit forming. The medication, you will have to wait for it to go through the system, and it can take it again as you face another challenge with time again." So basically, what he told us was that, and he expressed this many times, was that he could give me a prescription if I wanted one, but it's not going to be as helpful as the oils would, because unlike prescription, the oils you can take whenever you feel like you need it, and you won't get addicted to the oils because they're just plants, and you're gonna learn how to cope rather than being forced. Like the medication will put a chemical in your body that'll force you to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
That's great and all, but if you don't ever learn how to do that by yourself, there's no point. You're not really getting better, you're just suppressing everything. And that's not what you really want.
Right. And the idea, and what now so many, I actually learned a lot of these things. I took a course, and there's psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists that are working with doTERRA to teach us all the things that they have learned from the research. And what their strategy is living moment to moment, because you don't know when you're going to face stress. You don't know when you're going to have another anxious situation. So we like to start the day off with balance, so it helps us with our stress, and we are set up to do better with whatever stress comes that day. But then in the moment, if we need it again, either we have cheer on our necklace or we have serenity. And so a couple times, she called me from the school bathroom and was like, "I'm having an anxiety attack." And I would say, "Okay, well, do you have your serenity?" "Yes." "Okay, well, breathe it in and just put a drop in your hand, and let's just breathe it. And I'll stay on the phone with you, and let's just see what happens." And I'd just be quiet and let her do Phoebe, shush. Let her do what she needed to do to work through it. Give her a few minutes, and then I would wait and say, "How are you doing now? What do you need?" If she needed me, I would come and check her out. And me or her brother or Jason would be there in a few moments. But if she could just wait a few minutes and then start to calm down with the serenity, it usually, oh, did you tell them how quickly you and Rachel tested?
Oh yeah, when we were on the way to another town in the area in Florida, and we took a Serenity, and we were like, well, let's see how long it takes because we had been doing it a lot at that point, and we were like, let's time it and see how long it takes to go away. And for me, it took 5 minutes. For Rachel, it took like 5 minutes and some change, but still, it was pretty good.
Yes, and they were surprised how quickly. They just wanted to see how, they knew they felt better, but they just wanted to see how quick it worked. But that's the thing. The doctor said, it's just plants. So if you use it in the morning and then you get to school, and shortly after you get to school, you feel something again, you can do it again. So doTERRA is teaching to live moment to moment. And the thing is, it's not going to force her, right? It's just going to naturally help her body to learn. The pills force the body and make it create or place the chemicals there to make it feel good, the endorphins or dopamine or serotonin or whatever. It's placing that there. The body doesn't learn to make it on its own. But every time you use this oil, it starts to learn, oh, when she feels this and I get that signal from the gut, the brain is going to produce this. And it just helps the brain to produce what it needs to. And so that's the only way. Like, that's the way that your body will learn, okay, create more of this, create more of this. And then you're healing naturally from it. In the moment when you start to feel that, your body learns what to do. And you can do it 10 minutes later, you can do it an hour later, you can do it. Whereas if you took that medicine, you might have to wait 6 hours or, whatever, and 4 hours and then take it again. And you couldn't really take more. And even if you took one of the medications that you take when you feel something happening, it's not teaching the body to do that. So
and
it's pretty cool.
That can be very addictive because where you might not feel the response immediately, especially if it's a new medicine that you take when you feel like that, it might be bad for you. You just don't know it because it's a new medicine.
And that's
not what you really, if you can find an alternative with doTERRA, then that's what you want to do. When I went to the hospital, I didn't want to do medicine at all, period, when I first went there. And so I tried with the oils first. But for some people, they do need the medicine because it's so severe, but you want to try your best without the medicine first.
Yeah, and they, one doctor at first was like, I don't know if she should do it without medication because she had so many anxiety disorders. But she was pretty severe and she thrived with just the oils. So it's not to say that it can't be done, but some people are afraid to not have it, and they can just gradually use the oils and see how comforting it is, and then they get comfort with that, and then they don't want to use the pills, they can use the oils. So you can gradually do that, and a lot of doctors out there willing to help you learn that. But yeah, the one thing I would point out too is that they all have side effects, and I saw some pretty scary ones with my oldest son, where one, he was just, he took it one day, and then that one day we saw so many different mood swings where he was crying and he didn't know why he was crying. He got really angry, and then just went to his room so he could be alone, and then came out and was really confused. And we called the doctor, and he's like, okay, do not take that again. He can't take that. That's a bad side effect. And so that kind of scared me. But at that time, this was years and years ago, I didn't know what else to do, so I was just kind of at a loss. But, I've had that experience of where we didn't know anything else to do but pills, and we helped him. And now he's in college, and he has said, I want to clean my gut. He's finally where he has to study in college, and he was starting to do poorly, and he didn't want to get on ADD medicine. So, he's cleansing his gut. He's starting to use oils for that, and he feels good because he can use it moment to moment. So it's everybody's choice, and everybody has to make the choice that's best for them. But a lot of people are wanting to do something healthy and natural and needed some confidence in what that is. And we just wanted to share with you what medical professionals that worked in a clinic 25 and 30 years, and then some other doctors, once we left that clinic, what they said and their input, because it really impressed us that we were on the right path and just to see how far she's come. And it feels so good to say we had a lot of challenges, but we are so grateful to be blessed to where we are now and to be able to enjoy our life and not have the anxiety rule. So if you have any questions or you would like to talk with me, I also do consultations. So you can reach out to me. My email is Stacy with an IE, the letter B, healthy at gmail.com. And I can set up a consultation and I can bring the oils. You can see how they smell and test them and things like that. Or, we could just talk about some stuff that you might have questions on. But I hope that this opened up your eyes and let you know some techniques, even if you're already working with oils, or maybe open your eyes, either that you don't realize the person that watches you go through anxiety also is suffering, or to learn how to communicate better when that's happening, so that you really can master this skill. It's a skill, and trust me, it's going to get better and better. It's just a moment and something that we overcome, and it's just a stepping thing, like math. People learn how to add and subtract, and then they learn to multiply and divide. You learn how to spell, and you read bigger words. It's going to build upon, and you're going to master it. And I'm happy to share these things so that maybe we're a part in that.
I thought when I was in a really bad spot and I had to go to the hospital, I had no clue how to do anything because my mom just started the oils earlier that year, or the year before, I guess. And I thought that I couldn't be where I am right now in such quick time. So just know that working on it and figuring out what works for you and what you are takes time, but it works. And it's not the end of the world.
And I'll tell you this: when she left Bridgeview, she still wasn't confident. She told them,
I thought I had to go back for about a year. I was like, I'm probably going to go back at some point. I kept telling my parents. I remember we were at the mall once, and I talked about going back, and you guys were like, what? You don't have to go back. You're doing so much better. And it just freaked me out that I didn't have to go back because, I don't know.
And she did, she was scared at first being there, but then she did like being there. It felt a safe place to her. And she knew that everybody there was in support of her learning this. And so, but what my point was, when she came out, she still wasn't fully confident. But she did have the technique, and she did have to use it, and she would have to remind herself, and we would remind her too of some of the techniques. Like, do you think you're going to remember this next year? You probably won't even remember this. Neither will your friends. You had a panic attack. Nobody cares. They just care that you're okay, And so it just takes a little bit of time to build that confidence, and then know that she doesn't feel like she has to go back now. She knows she succeeded with that, and she might face things again, and that's okay. She just has to work through it again, but it rarely happens. In this past year, I can count on one hand. She had less than that to deal with anxiety this year, and that she had so many when she went into that hospital. It was every day something else. So if you're very worried and you're in that tough spot where it's every day, it's such a challenge, just know she's not the only one that has seen the success. We're not the only ones. I worked on it too. And so I hope that this gave you confidence, and we're both willing to help. So just reach out to us if you need it. Thanks again, and we're going to hope to keep on teaching this in schools and things too. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.